we've seen both factions and guilds start to get more introductions over the last year. I think that's a good thing. Obviously, it's mainly a narrative device, but it does help, I think, players get more grounded because you start to recognize who you actually like working with and for. And reputation is still lagging behind this, which is really frustrating because I think we should have reputation hostility across the whole game by now. But they are working that in as well. We see it a little bit in Pyro. So the more we continue through this year, the more each of these missions and contracts that they're adding, the locations they're building, and the storylines that they're making are being linked to specific entities so that we can start to understand where we actually stand in the Star Citizen universe. 4.1.1 is going to have additional focus on that. Not going to get too deep into it right now because it's not official information, but we will look at some of the guilds that are going to be a focus in the very near future and talk maybe a little bit about why that is.
A lot more. Okay.
This is some talk from CitizenCon 2024, just introducing the idea of how these guilds fit in. I'm going to skip around a bit.
What 1.0 is. As it is now, the game is not set up to help you.
That's true.
Exciting of the universe and understand what's available to them.
These will also obviously factor into like the main story.
And understand what's available to them. This story will also introduce each of our guilds and what professions we have to offer. Like the United Resource Workers, our core industrial guild, which supports two of our main professions, mining and salvaging. They also support many other features and professions, like repair technician, crafter, and builder. Guilds are hugely important in Star Citizen, and as you know by now, guilds are comprised of many factions.
I think there's a United Resource Workers have a skin, I think somebody was saying they wanted to get. Not entirely sure, but they used to talk about this actually a year prior at CitizenCon 2023 with the cargo hauling stuff that they wanted to do. So they wanted to get in basically rewards
with
in-game.
Health, has the container got good integrity and reputation with these companies?
So this is the whole thing behind the guilds and factions.
To mission progression, we'll be introducing perks and rewards as part of fulfilling contracts and raising reputation with these companies. For rewards, we'll have branded ship and tool skins, branded clothing. There will be collectibles to decorate your hab, hangar, or ship, or you can put them anywhere you want. And there'll be more exclusive rewards that we'll be revealing later. Thank you.
So they've started to put in these branded skins. There's some clothing, there's some armors. I think I don't know, is there a ship skin? Honestly, I don't remember. And I also don't know if any of it is exclusive to I guess the stuff you get from Wicklow is exclusive in the game. The Antium armor, I think, is exclusive in the game. But the couple of these things are still not exclusive in the game. So this is a big part of guilds and factions, is like actually getting something that you benefit from that other people can't because you've put in the effort to, invest in that company. It's progression.
As you work for each of these factions, you will gain guild reputation. You can then use this reputation as a currency to purchase guild-affiliated rewards, like ships, blueprints, and items. And each guild will have a unique inventory of what they offer. Alongside economic...
They kind of tried this too with the pyro stuff. They put the pyro, like components behind specific places in pyro, and I think that's a little bit of what they're trying to do here, just without having the benefit of having factions to back that up. So I think they've not been great at doing this because there haven't been enough factions, but we've seen Rayari now being taken advantage of. Shubin is pretty big in the game already, so I'm guessing they'll probably make use of that too. But they do need they need more more factions in the game so that things just continue to make more sense than they do now.
growth, guild reputation will become a core progression of the game. And to talk more about guilds and our main story, I'd like to introduce David Haddock onto the stage, our very own narrative director.
Star systems and professions of the Star Citizen universe, taking players on an exciting adventure that will finally kick off the growing tension between Earth and Terra. Yeah. It will be NPC driven. So while
All right, so the rest of the
corners of the
guilds
universe
that they've talked about is kind of getting into the whole point of today's conversation, which is the 4.1.1 stuff.
through them. Here we have the first guild that Rich showed, the United Resource Workers. Whether you're eager to earn credits, mining valuable resources from remote corners of the universe, sifting through detritus to try and salvage some valuable components, or even just acting as a technician, you'll find plenty to do with employers like Shubin Interstellar, United Wayfarers Club, and more. Next, you have one of the oldest unions in the UEE, the Interstellar Transport Guild. This will be the go-to place for everybody looking to make their fortune hauling and trading. Some of the factions that many of you already work for now, such as Ling Family Hauling, Redwind, and FTL.
Yeah, that was the first. That annoys me because these factions are the ones that are linked to the courier missions, and those are the ones that we can't do right now. But these were the first. I think this is the first reputation besides the bounty hunting people. But these are literally, that's Redwind. Redwind's right here. And we have the hauling missions with them, but I feel like the courier missions are where these ones really shine. And those are supposed to be the beginner's missions. It's annoying that they don't just... I wish the courier missions worked.
You already work for now, such as Ling Family Hauling, Redwind, and FTL. And we're going to be adding something special for the daredevils out there, the Imperial Sports Federation.
Okay. Anybody have any theories of why Star Marine is listed on here? Like this is, I didn't even notice this before, but why would Star Marine be in the PU? Unless they were actually going to try and have us like compete in there. Like maybe they do stick to the Simpot thing and you can load into Star Marine and compete in it while you're in Star Citizen. Industrial athlete also. Competitive mining. I can't wait for that. We talked about that last week.
So aside from the usual racetracks that are both legitimate and illegitimate, we're actually going to be leveraging some of our existing mechanics to build new sports and provide an outlet for all you Murray Cup enthusiasts, Cargo Olympians, and competitors to see just who's the best out there.
Oh, there's also, they have like multiple Arena Commander. I didn't even realize. Star Marine, Death Race. That's interesting. That actually, that kind of saw, it's like if you don't want to die, you can just run Arena Commander inside the PU. I wonder if you can get like paid for that. Can you get rewards in the PU for running arena matches in Arena Commander?
Those who dream of exploring, I'm sure we have a couple here. We have the Academy of Sciences that was brought up yesterday in the social presentation, if you saw that. This is a science guild that will include factions like the Imperial Cartography Center, who will task you with a variety of missions to better understand our universe, such as sending you into a nebula to do deep scans, or finally seeing what's at the bottom of that planetary canyon. We're going to have a new faction called High Point Wilderness Specialists, who will offer missions associated with the various fauna that we're starting to get into the game.
So that's a little interesting. We don't see them. We're hunting. Why are they not coming from High Point? Who actually gives them? Is it just Rayari that's giving the actual mission to hunt the the Copians? Do agree. They really need to get some specific rewards in here for these things. I appreciate that we're getting things that you have to find stuff, turn it in, and then you get things in return. But we need to get like Rayari themed stuff and actual in-game rewards for these. It adds a lot more to that. Wicklow and Rayari. You used to get High Point missions on Microtech? Oh. So that faction's in the game? Well, I'm just wondering because they talk a lot about the guild giving you missions, and then they also talk about the factions giving you missions. And I don't know what the differentiator between those two giving you missions would be. Like, if the faction gives me missions, don't I get reputation for both? If the guild does, then I'm not really getting any rep for the faction. I don't know. Don't know how that's going to work. But we can see Rayari here already in the retrieve and research missions. This seems to be what they're doing in 4.1.1 with this new narrative that they're going through. What's it called? I don't know if they have a name for it. It's being called a regen crisis. Basically, something's going on with... I don't even have to do this. They announced it. It's here,
Fully
right?
prepped for work, it's time to set up the scene. In today's shoot, I'll be playing an SSN newsflash anchor named James Harriman.
This is James Harriman with an SSN newsflash.
The brief I was given is that 900 years in the future, these are low attention span vignettes of under a minute that are hosted by a news pro that does not get excitable or include his personal opinions in his reading of the facts. Basically, short and with as little of himself as possible. I have no idea why they came to me for this.
That
and
is
it's
really
possible
funny.
I'm being punked right now. But I'm gonna try really hard not to let anyone down.
Shocking news out of the Stanton system with the recent attacks by Frontier fighters on the Invictus celebrations.
And in addition to news about the ongoing
Okay, so clearly we're going to have some contracts with the Frontier fighters during Invictus.
threat of the Frontier fighters, I'm also doing reports about a new threat to all human life in the verse that begins to rear its head in the upcoming Alpha 4.1 with the start of this year's B story, concerning a suspected failure of regen technologies, which we'll learn more about in just a couple of weeks. The UEE
It's been a couple weeks. Did we learn more about that? I'm asking that seriously. Did they say anything else about that? Maybe they talked about it. I don't remember. But this is part of that. I mean, this whole idea that they're researching regeneration technology, and so you need to go retrieve it and then get it back to them to research. And it is Rayari. So going by that, you might be able to see other possible factions that are coming in here. I'm hoping Rapid Response, they really need to get freaking medical beacons back in. But anyways, that's science. Let's continue.
From population control missions to harvesting specific resources for research. Now, I don't know if we have some people who'd like to do combat, but our combat guilds were doing something a little different. Now, previous to this, these are all of our profession guilds. But for our combat guilds, they operate a little differently. See, these two are
Secret code is a line die.
diametrically opposed to each other. So once you pledge allegiance to one, the other marks you as an enemy.
So that's a little bit different because guilds don't, like all the other guilds they've talked about, I don't think science is really going to mark you as an enemy. Because there's no religious guild in this game. Sorry. But I don't think like all these other guilds are fine. I do think that factions will have problems with you though. So if you're a pirate, Rayari might not want to work with you. But specifically when you get to these two, things change.
But our combat guilds were doing something a little different.
Mainly, I guess, because they're combat focused.
They operate a little different. Pledge allegiance. On the lawful side, we have the Mercenary Guild.
All right. We already know this group. We're already doing a lot of work for them. I mean, I do. This is where most of my gameplay takes part. Interestingly enough, though, the Bounty Hunters Guild is within the Mercenary Guild, is what it seems like they're saying here. I've always thought about them separately, but I guess I don't know what they're going to do there. But Foxwell, Citizens for Prosperity, Eckhart Security, like we already are very much involved with this group. So it makes sense that this would be one where they're going to expand a lot of functionality quickly. Well,
They represent
quickly in comparison to the rest of this marathon project.
factions like Eckhart Security, the Bounty Hunters Guild, and even some military contractors. So whether you're pulling together a team of specialists to go assault a ground base, hunting down an elusive criminal, or putting together a recon run to drum up some intel, mercenary guilds got you covered.
Yeah, this is the leveling
On the flip
for
side-
missions and jobs. This is the progression. And then we have the Criminals Guild. Again, we know these groups. Headhunters is obviously going to be somebody they focus on because we are already playing with them. But Atani Syndicate, Drop Kings, Darkside Rovers, these are very common names. If you watch The Astro Historian, you will hear these names when talking about lore. And they exist in Stanton, Pyro, and other systems too. Vaughn missions, anybody? Some people love those. Bit Zeros, we know them. And then there will be others like Nine Tails and whoever it is that Tisha Pacheco works for, Wallace Klim. Like, this is nowhere near all-encompassing of what this group will be. But this is where you get to be a bad person and progress in doing that.
Council. Now, this is a shadowy group comprised of representatives from various gangs, syndicates, and outlaws who mandate criminal activity throughout the verse. You'll be able to throw in with rough and tumble gangs like the Headhunters and the Dead Saints, or work your way up to join highline criminal syndicates like the Atonis or the Drop Kings. But remember, the underworld is a dangerous place run by greed and power. So mercenary guild reps might not be the only people you have to worry about, as the syndicates are always looking for loyal soldiers who will hurt their competition and tip the scales of power in their favor.
So those two last guilds are the focus. They're not... The council has not really been built at all. I don't think they have the underlying system in place for this to be considered a guild and stuff, but they do have reputation with these factions. And so I haven't put a ton of thought into why they're doing this. Still wanted to hear more about the official information. But these two combat-focused guilds are obviously going to be rather important because they represent a dichotomy you don't really run into with these other guilds. So it does look like CIG is looking for ways to... They're looking for ways to allow people to physically exchange goods with these guilds in order to get rewards from them. And I think there's a couple good reasons. Well, I think there are a couple reasons to do this. I wasn't sure if they were going to. I always wondered if they were going to ever put AUEC on chips so that you could put them in loot boxes and have them be more easily exchanged with people outside of the whole... not exchange with people, sorry. Exchange with locations. I do think this... having a physical way of exchanging goods, like a physical representation of money, a credit card or whatever you want to call it, helps to add into loot. And it makes loot have more reason to exist. I mean, if you find somebody running around with a whole bunch of stuff, it's not like they're going to have their credit chips on their outside of their armor. They're going to have them in their backpack. So filling out things that you can find and loot and trade for other goods is good. This physicalizes reputation credits, I feel. But again, adding another form of... I don't even know what to call it. Currency, I guess. Another form of currency complicates things more. So, again, still waiting for official information to really understand what the point is here or how this is going to go. But that's a look into guilds and a little bit of a look into how guilds are going to expand in the future with payment systems, possibly with specific possible to lose currencies that can be probably traded for UEC and exchanged for exclusive in-game rewards. I guess it would be better to do it this way than to get specific rewards for contracts, to rather get paid for contracts by specific representatives of a guild and then go to that guild's place and be like, or maybe different people from that guild's place, whether they are market people or people you had to get reputation to get access to, and then you can pay them in a certain currency that you've built up over time, rather than just, oh, I've got to do this mission in order to get... Who's going to give you a Polaris, for completing a mission? Yeah, we're doing it with Wicklow right now because the game's not finished, but it'll probably make more sense for you to be able to build up credit to get the Polaris rather than to do a mission and somebody is like, here's this gigantic spaceship for doing that for me. If I do a big enough favor for Jeff Bezos, is he going to give me a spaceship? Is that how this works? What you're gathering is we will have to pick a side or two in order to get something. Remember something like this in Star Wars Galaxies from years ago. That is the idea. Maybe not with the rest of the guilds, because they are a little more focused on productivity. I do think a lot of these factions won't work with you if you do the kind of work that lands you in the council. But specifically, I think with the council and the mercenaries guild, this is a very clear separation of two different parts of Star Citizen. And they want to be able to draw a bit of a line here and say, these people are going to work with this group of people. These people are going to work with this group of people. And it's going to take an actual conscious effort to switch over or work with one or the other. Then there's probably plenty of neutrality zone in between where you can work for one or the other and very easily play both sides at the same time. Just kind of like the Knights of the Old Republic, kind of how your evil and goodness would fluctuate. Do one at a time and get them all. Yeah. That's part of Death of a Spaceman too, is the whole idea where you go through all your cycles and then you like end that character. It's supposed to kind of be a reputation reset so that you can very easily go through a whole life cycle with somebody in the council, get super deep into it, do all of the horrible crime. And then at the end of that all, you still have the stuff you got from doing all of that, and you can pass it on to your character, and then that character can switch to the mercenary guild and still do all that stuff. You have that story element of, well, I just have this because my old man, my grandpa, is part of the council. It's not really important to people. It's just like a lore additive, but it's also a bit of a gameplay mechanic to let you play both sides over time on the same account and still have consequences for playing one side or the other.